Giants fans, welcome back to Giants Latest. They take on the Eagles this week, and we've got some injury updates. The Giants signed a new wide receiver, and we got to talk about the kicker situation. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Starting with the Giants injury updates, this is what we have from the Wednesday's injury report. And to be honest, I don't expect Thursdays to be much different. It's usually not that drastically different from day to day. So we've got 4 players who did not participate in practice. The first one is Paulson Adebo, who's dealing with a knee injury. According to Dan Duggan, it's not looking great for Paulson Adebo on Sunday, but we will know on Friday when the final report comes out. Brian Burns, he's listed with a hip injury. He also, I think, is dealing with an ankle injury. But Burns spoke to the media and said he's playing Sunday. And if there's one thing that I really love about Brian Burns, it's the fact that whether he's injured, he's limping, he's hurt, in pain, his butt is always out on the field and he's going to play, and he is a damn reliable team player, and I just love him for it. So thank God we're going to need him on Sunday. Chauncey Golston is dealing with a neck injury. He also did not practice. Chauncey Golston has been dealing with a slew of injuries this year. He's been more injured than he has played. I don't even think he's played a game yet. He's been very injured. I don't know what's going on with him, but I'm not expecting him to play on Sunday. And lastly, Javon Holland is also dealing with a knee injury. There's been no real update there, and they didn't make any move at the safety position. So I'm hoping that he's going to play. But time will tell. Again, I don't really think that we're going to know until Friday on him. Next up, there are a few players who are limited. Daniel Bellinger, who's dealing with a neck. Swayze Bozeman, who's dealing with an ankle. That is an upgrade this week because last week he did not practice. DJ Davidson is also dealing with an injury, an ankle injury. Jermaine Illuminor is dealing with a knee. Demetrius Flanagan-Foles is dealing with a hamstring. Foles is also limited versus last week. He did not practice, so again, step in the right direction. Same thing for John Michael Schmitz, who has a concussion, and Darius Slayton, who has a hamstring. Both of those guys did not practice at this point last week, so they are definitely trending in the right direction to play on Sunday. But again, we won't really know until Friday when that final injury report is coming out. But typically, the guys who are listed as limited on a Wednesday do end up practicing on Sunday unless there's some sort of setback or issue the following day, which JMS with a concussion at this point, I mean, it's been almost 2 weeks, so hopefully he's good to go for Sunday. If not, at least Austin Schlottman has been playing well. And Slayton with a hamstring, I think he's probably going to play. And then lastly, we have 2 guys who are listed as full participants. Jackson Dart, who was dealing with that ankle injury during the game. And then Graham Gano, who's dealing with a groin. We are going to talk about the kicker situation at the end of the show. So let's go ahead and move over to the Eagles because they have had some injury updates as well. And I want to talk through those. So starting with the players who did not practice on Wednesday, they have A.J. Brown, who's dealing with a hamstring. Now, that is a big deal because A.J. Brown is coming off his best game of the season last week from the Eagles. So let's see how that goes. We're going to continue to watch it. But if A.J. Brown does not play on Sunday, that is a very big deal and could definitely help the Giants. So again, we'll see what happens. Next up, Adoree Jackson is dealing with a concussion. He did not practice. We all know Adoree Jackson. To be honest, I kind of hope that he plays because he had a horrible game against the Giants 2 weeks ago. Cam Jurgens did not practice, dealing with a knee. Aziz, hamstring. What else is new? Did not practice. And Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is dealing with an ankle. He did not practice. Now, the Eagles have 5 players that were listed as limited. Jacorian Bennett is dealing with a pectoral injury. Grant Calcaterra, oblique. Landon Dickerson, ankle/back. Now, Dickerson did not play the first time around against the Giants. So him being back could be a big boost to this offensive line. If he's dealing with this ankle back injury, I don't know how that will affect him, but because he was limited, I expect him to play at least part of it on Sunday. Dallas Goedert is dealing with a calf, also limited, and Moro Ojomo, shoulder injury. He was limited. Brandon Graham is listed as a full participant 1 day after coming back from being retired. So we have that going for us. Tomorrow, I will give you a Thursday's injury update. So I usually record the night before so we can get this out nice and early to you guys. So we'll see if there's any movement from Wednesday to Thursday. We'll talk through that. But in the meantime, I want to talk through the new wide receiver that the Giants signed because it is not Jalen Waddle. Surprise, surprise. I know so many Giants fans want Jalen Waddle, and I'm with you. I also want him, but I think that there's a other side to things that always gets lost in fans just being like, I want to trade this player or I want this guy to be traded to the Giants, this and that. A lot of Giants fans I've seen after this week, just cut Tay Banks or trade Tay Banks. You have to look at the totality of things, right? Like if you're a defensive coordinator and you're watching Deonte Banks on film, why do you want to bring Deonte Banks to your team? Now, I think there would be some benefits to Deonte getting traded to another team. I think he has an attitude problem, and I think that part of it just stems from being here and whatever his problem is with the Giants, kind of like Jalen Hyatt. I think someone like Banks would do well in a new atmosphere, and sometimes guys just need a fresh start, and that might help Tay Banks. He is a good athlete. He cannot turn his head around, but he does well in a wink type scheme. So maybe the Broncos, who do a lot more blitzing than the Giants do, maybe he would benefit by being with the Broncos. I don't know. But it's going to take a defensive coordinator who sees the skills in Banks and says, we can work with him. He just needs to be put in the right position, and maybe he needs better coaching. And maybe that's all it is. But I don't know. So anyways, it's the same thing with Jalen Waddle. If you are the Dolphins and you just paid Tua $50 million, he's in year one of that extension, and they lost Tyreek Hill. Why are you blowing up the whole thing and trading away Jalen Waddle? I just don't see them doing that. They have to give Tua someone. He needs help out there. And now they just lost Darren Waller, who's also on IR. They're bringing in another former Giant, Greg Dulcich. So, maybe that will help him. But I just don't see them completely blowing it up. Maybe next year, maybe in the spring, they will trade him if they fire the GM, fire the head coach, try to do something with Tua. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I'd be very, very surprised if the Dolphins do end up trading Jalen Waddle. So we'll see what happens. So with that being said, they signed a different wide receiver, Ray McCloud. And if you don't know anything about him, I'll tell you a little bit. So he's 5'9", about 185 pounds. He was most recently with the Falcons, but his first year in the NFL in 2022, he was with the Bills. Do you know who else was with the Bills? Is Giants' current head coach, Brian Daboll. That's right. We know how Giants, the front office, they love to bring in a former Bill. So he went from the Bills to the Falcons. He's been with the Falcons ever since. Not a wildly productive wide receiver so far this year. He's had 6 catches for 64 yards, I believe. And then in 2024, which I believe was his best year so far in the league, he had, oh God, what was it? I think it was 60 something receptions for almost 700 yards and 1 touchdown. He also is a kick returner, so that's beneficial to him. He plays in the slot and on the outside, so he is a versatile wide receiver. The thing is, he's not really going to get slot snaps unless Wan'Dale Robinson goes down, because Wan'Dale has not only been healthy, but he's also been productive. I think the biggest reason they're doing this is because there's no one on the outside who has stepped up to the plate. You lose Malik Neighbors, and then you lose Darius Slayton, and you elevate little Jordan Humphrey, you give Bo Collins the ball, and you give Jalen Hyatt the ball. And all 3 of them, outside of the Eagles game, where Humphrey had a great game, he was barely targeted against the Broncos. He only had 2 targets. Bo Collins, I think, also had 2, and Jalen Hyatt had 1. So is someone outside of the tight ends and Scattaboo and Tracy have to help out their quarterback. And if it's not going to be any of those 3 guys, I guess they figure they might as well bring in McLeod and see what he's capable of doing. As of right now, he's on the practice squad, though, so we'll see if they elevate him before Sunday's game. If they do, the assumption is that he's going to get some snaps, again, on the outside, not in the slot. But it's going to be interesting because there is a good chance that Darius Slayton is back on Sunday. So if that's the case, who knows? Maybe they've gotten calls about Jalen Hyatt. I doubt it, but you never know. So anyway, I'll keep you guys posted on this. Obviously not a super exciting signing. He is not a big-bodied wide receiver. He does not have a ton of success in the league. But I guess he knows the system, or at least he knows part of it. So we'll see what happens. I want to move along now and talk about the kicker situation, because Daboll spoke to the media on Wednesday, and he said that Graham Gano is eligible to come off of IR. He was limited in practice today, and he has been kicking for about a week, according to Art Stapleton. So at least that Art Stapleton knows about. So Daboll said that if they think Gano is ready to go on Friday and he's listed as questionable or probable or whatever, then he's going to be the kicker on Sunday. And I don't have a huge problem with that. What I will have a huge problem with is if they are solely relying on 38-year-old injury-prone Graham Gano, who has not played a full season since 2022, and who's just coming off IR. You cannot solely rely on him to be a kicker, especially in a game that's probably going to be close if we're competitive, which we should be, but you never know with the Giants. So I really want them to elevate Koo. I don't care what they have to do to the roster, figure it out, demote someone to the practice squad. You have to have 2 kickers on Sunday. And I know that's not protocol. I know that's not standard. I know it's probably absurd to have 2 kickers on your game day roster. I don't give a shit. You need to prove to everyone that you have learned your lesson at this point. There have been multiple games, it's happened for multiple years, where this team is not prepared and does not have a kicker. And if, God forbid, Graham Gano goes out there during pregame warmups and injures himself like he did week 1 this year, like he did at some point last year, like he did the year before, you better have a backup plan because it's unacceptable. I'm telling you right now, if they go into this game with Graham Gano as the only kicker on the roster, and he re-injures himself or he misses field goals or misses extra point attempts, I want Dable fired at the end of the game. And I don't care. I know they're not going to do it, but that should be a fireable offense. The third time that happens, it is completely unacceptable. It is not your first year as the head coach. It is not your first year as the GM. We are on year 4 of this. You cannot continue to make the same mistakes over and over again. And not are they just little mistakes here and here. They're the reasons why you're losing football games. It's why you lost games last year. It's why you lost a game this year. You cannot do it again. It's just unacceptable. So they must figure out a way. Do the roster gymnastics that you do every goddamn week, that you've been doing every week for 4 years. Do it and figure it out. You better have 2 active kickers on Sunday. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts. I don't give a shit how much money it costs. They freed up over $4 million and they didn't bring in any trade piece who's taking up that $4 million. So I don't want to hear that they're worried about money. I don't want to hear that they don't have enough roster spots. Figure it out. That's what you get paid an assload of money to do. It's not that hard because every other team does it every other week. There's 31 other teams in the NFL who don't have the same problems week in and week out like the New York Giants do under this regime. There's no excuses. It's unacceptable. So, better be seeing that practice squad elevation on Saturday for Younghoe Koo. Tomorrow, we will talk more about the injuries and talk about players to watch. So until then, subscribe for more.